Just fucking do it. Subscribe now. Questions? Yes, sir. Doc.
Your superstars, when they...
You're talking about these guys?
Yeah, you know, Andres, Thomas, Maguire, etc. So when, I guess they're closing these cases pretty much on the first deal, selling the motivated sellers, etc. They get the sellers to sign right there?
Yeah, they sign the LOI. Then you come back after due diligence to sign the purchase agreement.
Yeah, but the LOI, they negotiate the LOI, they get it all typed up.
Correct.
It's like an e-sign or DocuSign or something. It's all done.
Correct. I don't like DocuSign. I like in person. Because if they die, this is a joke, if they die signing DocuSign, I can't be there to help them, give them a little extra help. A little extra help. I'm not talking about the extra benefits you're getting, Baldy. I'm not talking about that from, the crematorium. Now, doesn't he look like a mortician? Look at him right now. That black, I think, is that a black tie? And a black, okay, he looks like a goddamn mortician. You're perfect. I get some contact lenses, though, and take the glasses off. Then you can look like an alien.
Are they calling black hair, pale skin?
Yeah, well, they're not all, but, I went to a black funeral parlor. Your black colleague just walked in. I went to a black funeral parlor years ago in Tuskegee, okay? And they dress the same and the same solemn look when you will come in the door and all that shit. But I didn't ask him about the extra benefits. I didn't ask him about the extra benefits. But I'm sure that they existed. But it's no secret why when the football players all work at one place, there's a reason. I mean, there's a goddamn reason. And it's not because they're paying more than minimum wage. I'm just telling you. It's quite ironic. Other question. Let me see now. Was there one other thing I wanted to see? If the slide's in the right place. Oh. Back in the 90s, I used to give you these to keep track of your calls. You know how when you run a lap, you punch the thing? We'd have one for financial, one for cold calls. And they used to have to report to me how many calls they made. Now, I'm positive that they used to use like this to add up the numbers. But see, nobody can make you make the calls. And I thought, naively, if they had the thing sitting on their desks, they would shame them into the calls, but it didn't. It didn't. But I mean, I've tried all kinds of different ways to enhance the probability of you fulfilling. And the hardest thing is the calls. There's just no question about that. But we haven't found something that is a absolute best of best practices. Best of best practices. And for those of you that have already thought about getting a call center to make the calls, I've been asked by 2 or 3 of you, the answer, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You get somebody with an Indian accent talking to a guy in Mobile, Alabama, and they ask a question, and then they answer in an Indian accent, okay? Or the call centers used to be in Ireland with an Irish accent. Or the call center used to be in the Philippines with a Philippine accent. And it doesn't work. It just doesn't. Not the least of which, then you don't get any practice because it's you, the person that is going through all these calls. So by the time that you're getting ready to close your first deal, you've made, 150 or 200 quasi-presentations. And of course, now with Andres, he's made, I don't know how many, but a whole bunch. But until you feel not comfortable, that's the wrong word, until it becomes rote memory that you can present and not make it sound like it's memorized, you'll struggle. And the sooner that you get over that speed bump, which some of you will consider a Mount Everest, the better. And the only way you do that is make those calls. make those calls. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, okay. The guy to the left of Woz is my mentee, and Woz is his mentee, and the two big girls are my mentees. And the one on the right is a professional volleyball player, Olympian, and the one on the left is I can't remember his sport now. And the Woz fell in love with my two female mentees, as most guys with blood coursing through their veins would. The one on the left is had rolled up and exited from Pilates and health studios. Pilates and health studios. And the girl on the right is rolled up gymnasiums, healthcare, like the bricks. And they're sisters. And they're a lot of fun, the girls are. And you see, Woz, I thought he's fallen into heaven. Men are all beasts. Okay, if there's no other questions, I'm going to in the back, yes?
I have a question. In Germany, there's a possibility to search for companies that, for example,
Did you say a possibility?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, possibility. If they are upwards 1 million revenue per year, for example.
Okay.
So you can just target
I
the good
understand.
ones. Would you do that? Will you do that?
Well, okay, you're saying that at a certain category, 1 million and above, there's a list in Germany.
Correct. Yeah, you
Okay.
can target.
Okay, is there a list in Germany for 2 million, 3 million, 5 million?
Everything. Yeah, you can just.
Okay, well the answer is, we don't want you to, I want you to do as big a deal as possible, but in the beginning, you're not going to know anything, and you're going to step on your dick, and you're going to stumble. So I would rather you stumble on deals that are 300,000 euros that are never going to happen. Now, 1 million is pretty below down the totem pole, but I would make calls at below 1 million before you start calling 1 million. And if you have that ability, then call companies at 2 million or 5 million. Pick your own poison. I certainly didn't try to get companies that were at the low end of the continuum, but I did contracts. My first contract was 20 million. My second contract was 20 million. My third contract was 10 million, which I didn't even bid on, which I've already told you about. And then I used that leverage of that $50 million that I did in 1 year with no employees to launch me. And then I went into the oil fund business where we're drilling and we're collecting money. And then I founded Great Western in January 1982. But it was a stepping stone. But my stepping stones were bigger. But I had financial background. I had sales background. I had all the backgrounds that most of you don't have. And I was never intimidated by any of the process, least of which was cold calling or sales. Now, maybe a couple of you have got some sales background, so you have a marginal edge. But for the most part, you have no experience. So the building blocks are there because you don't have experience, and I want you to gain experience, and I don't want you to fail. I don't want you to fail. Okay. It doesn't, forget my reputation, QLA, forget Reddit and all this shit, but it doesn't do me, selfishly, any good for you to fail. It doesn't. Even though the numbers to add on to my numbers now, it takes a whole bunch to add up to my numbers, but I want you to succeed. I want the legacy when I'm gone, this system that other people, poor people use, 50, 100 years from now. To the extent that the meteor hasn't hit us yet. Selfishly, I want you to succeed. So when I tell you these things, I tell you because I know 99 times out of 100 doesn't work. Of course, one time somebody might make it work. But the odds are, the things that I'm preaching, that I get violent about is because, most of why go against the odds when you can go with the odds? Why go against the stream when you can go with the stream? Why go against the big wave and when you can go with the big wave? And so that's what I'm saying. And it's worked out pretty well. I mean, not pretty well. It's worked out fucking terrific. When little guys like Peter, I loved him to death, a hospital guy who really went against the grain, can do what he did. And when Andreas and these various other, the Carlines, now, I mean, how much did I help the Goomba brothers? They were pretty successful anyway. I mean, they didn't have any trouble being aggressive. But even they said, we didn't believe it until we did it and it worked. Okay? Because when you come from the aggressive end of the continuum, well, what can I learn from this old fuck? Okay? And then they used it and it worked. And what they say is, because they've been in business 25 years, fuck. I mean, what could we have accomplished? Like, exactly. And as Andreas says, it took him 5 years to get here. You know, he'd already, I don't know where he'd be. He'd be significantly ahead of where he is now, for sure. And I don't have to remind him of that. He reminds himself when he didn't buy that €8 million house, okay, which is, on the lake like Hitler. All the Germans, there's 4 or 5 things that all the Germans are alike on. And if they had woken Hitler up from his nap, we'd be speaking German right now, because they would have stopped us at the beach in Normandy with those 70 Panzer divisions, and we'd be going, jawohl, auf Wiedersehen, raus, raus. We would have been fucked. But fortunately, because they didn't want to piss Hitler off, they didn't wake him up. They didn't wake him up. They didn't wake him up. You would have made a great Gestapo officer, I can just see you turning the ovens on, And he kind of looks like a skinny Goering, dark-skinned, skinny Goering. There's a lot of really credit. I poke fun at the German. Siemens 10 years, so I paid my price, okay? But there's a lot of really super qualified German executives that, in my judgment, are under the thumb of what they really are capable of. Because I met a bunch of them. I met dozens. I met hundreds of them. Okay, if there's nothing else, bye. Thank you.